Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second podcast from Hurtwood Psychology Freudian Slips. Today, we don't have an official podcast, but it is one of our lockdown specials. And this week, it's on our favourite psychological films. And we have a guest star. We have Tegan, my friend, but also a media student. Tegan, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tegan and I'm doing media studies for A-levels, and I'm really excited about this podcast because psychological films, especially psychological thrillers, are my favorite genre. So this is
And I
exciting.
can confirm that for the audience because we watch most of them together in Hurtwood.
Yeah, we do.
So
We do.
not to plug anything, but yeah. Okay, so I know we've all brought two. I'm just going to go ahead and start. So my first favorite movie is Black Swan, and Black Swan is directed by Aaron Aronofsky, and I've got it here because I got it for my birthday. He also directs a lot of other psychological movies. So if you enjoyed Black Swan, there's Mother and many other movies. So Natalie Portman got an Oscar for this movie. And what it centers on is a young girl, Nina, who's a ballerina, and she's very fragile and sensitive. And she's cast for Swan Lake, where she has to play both the white swan and the black swan. But over the course of the film, because she's not this dark, seductive swan, she has to turn into that. And we see the film centers around her nervous breakdown. Now, why this is my favorite psychological film is because her nervous breakdown is very severe. It consists of many different disorders, such as anxiety, OCD, there's suicide, there's self-harm, there's body dysmorphia, there's bulimia, and there's psychosis. She has things like hallucinations and bad dreams, through many of things. But I think although the premise is so dark, it's filmed so beautifully, and we see it through kind of a metamorphosis of the white swan through the black swan. And I think this is really important in a movie, not just to understand a bit more about these conditions, but to see it in a more artistic way, which is why she got the Oscar and which is why it's a hit. And it's a 15, so it's available to watch to most people. My next favourite movie for psychology is a little bit more violent. It's an 18, so not for everyone. It's based on the book by Bret Easton Ellis, so American Psycho. American Psycho was filmed in 2000, and it was directed by a woman named Mary Harron. Now, why I think it's significant that a woman directed it is because of the misogyny in the film. For those who don't know, American Psycho is about a banker or a young professional person who works in the economy, and he's played by Christian Bale, and he lives a second life as a gruesome serial killer. And not only is he a serial killer, but he's a rapist and indulges in many things like prostitution, violence, drugs, all you can think of, all the bad things. Why this movie was such a shock, and I think such a good case study for psychology, is because of its use of Freud's personality theory. Freud's personality theory consists of a three-part thing, and he is known as the id, which is the primal desires, and this id, this part of the personality, is known to be counteracted by the ego, which is the middle part and what we see on right on ourselves, on our personality, and the superego, which is all our morals, trying to be good and kind. This character only has the id, and so is a total narcissist and what everyone likes to call a psychopath. And you can see this as when he kills his first victim, he puts plastic on his Versace suits to not ruin it whilst he's killing him with a chainsaw or axe or whatever it was. Also, the movie centers on an attack on consumerism and all of that. So I think it's a really interesting movie to watch. But enough about me. Josh?
Yeah, speaking about psychopaths, I'd like to talk about Silence of the Lambs. I mean, you brought up psychopaths, so I gotta jump right in there. It's a classic, but a goodie. Yeah, so directed by Jonathan Demme. I think that's how I pronounce it. I'm terrible with pronunciations. But starring Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. Got multiple awards at the Academy's Best Picture, Best Actor, and I think Actress.
Yeah,
But anyway, the film follows a young FBI trainee, Jodie Foster, who then is sent to interview this prolific psychopathic cannibal played by Anthony Hopkins. And as the film progresses, it journeys more into forensic psychology and the mind of a psychopath and their tendencies. But as it goes on, the film also starts to go into who is being interrogated or asked questions. Is it the serial killer, or is the serial killer actually starting to interrogate the person who's supposed to be asking the questions? And that kind of buys into the fact that psychopaths, they are incredibly manipulative people. I mean, and obviously, so the word psychopath, we all have this perception that psychopaths are killer. Not true. Not true. Not true at all. Psychopath is just someone who lacks empathy. A lot of people in high up end businesses lack to a certain degree a lot of their empathy.
That's why American Psycho is such a dig at these kind of people. But
yeah, because they generally do score quite highly on psychopathic tests. We looked at that earlier in the year in the syllabus anyway. But just as a little bit of evidence here, it's estimated that 300 to 400,000 psychopaths are in England to some degree. That doesn't mean they go on a killing spree like Hannibal Lecter, but
that's nice.
That's good to know. It's nice to know that there aren't that many killers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but moving swiftly on, I'll talk about Shutter Island, Martin Scorsese film. Absolutely phenomenal. Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, what's his name? Ben Kingsley, that's the one. And it's only got nominations. It didn't win anything. I'm really gutted about that. But did win Teen Choice Awards. So I'll just go through the plot. So it follows a US Marshal who is having these visions of traumatic experiences, and then he's sent to go investigate a disappearance at this mental psychiatric ward for the criminally insane. And obviously not everything as it seems, and this whole mysterious, but just talking about the psychological aspects there, we can talk about traumatic memory. You mentioned Freud's ideas of repression and how we deal with these traumatic experiences and how these can sometimes come back. And that, on a more biological note, that can generally be caused by abnormal cortical and hippocampus arousal, but that's all a bit too scientific for what we're talking about right now. So I'll just end it there and hand over to Tegan, our media expert.
Cool. So yeah, I was actually just going to add on that, the whole kind of thing with trauma. Basically, I think that Scorsese does a really good job of making the film non-linear. So while you've got the main storyline happening, you've got these flashbacks going on, which are kind of, in a sense, kind of really disjointed, and you can't quite tell what's going on. So that really adds to the mystery, and also kind of highlights how trauma, lots of people kind of block out certain, if I'm correct, kind of certain parts. They block them out because it's too hard for them. So I think that's really good how he did that. But anyways, moving on to the two films that I chose. So the first one that I chose was Vivarium, which stars Jesse Eisenberg, who is a great actor, and another actress called, I believe her name is Molly. I can't remember her surname. Molly Poots, that's it.
Sorry, T. Can I just interrupt and say that we watched this together?
Yes, we did.
We couldn't sleep the next day.
No, it was so scary. It was just really kind of, I mean, and I like psychological films, but it really left us thinking like, what? Like, it was crazy. And actually, the definition of vivarium, if I'm correct, is an enclosure in which animals are kept in, and not experiments are run on them, but they're to be observed in, if that makes sense. And that kind of hints to actually the whole plot of the film, which is really cool. So the main themes, the basic storyline is that this couple is looking for a new house, and they've gone to this estate which has just been built, and they're attracted to it because of how cheap it is. And so they're dropped off there, but the guy that's touring them around mysteriously vanishes, and it turns out that they're stuck and they can't get out. And it's basically just about their routine and how every day is kind of slowly becoming the same, and the themes of insanity and kind of isolation and being trapped is really interesting. For example, there's a key scene where Jesse Eisenberg's character gets so kind of bored and so kind of feeling so useless that he starts digging a hole, hoping that digging a hole will kind of get any answers. And it's just the same thing, and it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different, but nothing different happens. You know, it's really interesting.
I was just going to say, I think it's a really interesting film because it basically has its own take on suburbia and normality and routine. These people are forced to grow a child, to take care of a child, and they are told when the child is grown, they are released. I'm not going to tell you what happens afterwards, but I think it's really interesting to understand and kind of switch what life is really about. And I think that's why. Yeah,
exactly, the whole theme of childhood too. And there's actually kind of almost like again, not giving away too much, but there's a cuckoo metaphor. And the cuckoo bird is the bird that their mum like lays their egg in a different nest, right? And then the child grows up and the parents are tricked into raising it. And I think that's really interesting in terms of their relationship, the character's relationship with this child, and how it's not theirs. And yeah, it's just a really, really interesting film, and I definitely recommend it. The second film that I'm talking about is called Split.
Oh yeah,
directed by an amazing director, M. Night Shyamalan, I think that's his name. And he's also done films like Unbreakable, really good kind of films that are more on the, I'd say, sorry?
The Visit, that's another one.
Yes, The Visit too, yes, amazing film again. So he's more horror, psychological films than thrillers, I'd say.
Yeah, I See Dead People.
Oh yes, The Sixth Sense too.
No, I was wondering what the film is. I couldn't remember it. I just knew the line.
Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, I think. And Bruce Willis actually worked with Shyamalan before. He's worked in Unbreakable and Glass. So Split is part of a trilogy, and essentially it stars James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy, who is both amazing actors. And the storyline is that this man has kidnapped 3 girls, and his intentions with them are unclear, because throughout the beginning of the film, he doesn't seem to harm them. The point is he's kidnapped them, and he keeps mentioning about this character called the Beast coming, and the whole plot is kind of them trying to uncover the mystery of why they're there and who this guy really is.
I think one important thing we need to add is James McAvoy in the film is a schizophrenic. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's also got a personality disorder. So he believes he's a lot of different people. And so it's interesting as a movie also because he's playing so many different characters at once, and one of them is a nice to the girls, one of them is bad to the girls, and I think
one's an underdeveloped child.
One's a 9-year-old. And interesting fact actually, he based his 9-year-old character on I don't know if you guys know this actress, but Saoirse Ronan, who played the main character in Lady Bird, because he was really good friends with them because they're both Irish, and I don't know when he worked with her. I know he's Scottish, sorry. I don't know when they worked together, but he based his character off her. Yeah, so it's really interesting to see him change, and the physical change that they do as well. It's really interesting.
So yeah, that sums up our sixth favorite film, sorry, but let us know which one are your favorites, because obviously we're all in lockdown. We've seen these movies. We want to watch more. And next time our lockdown one will be on books. So we'll see you next. Bye.